Welcome to the AL.com film room. I'm Matt Scalici here with Cole Cubelic. We're going to be breaking down Auburn's upcoming Sugar Bowl showdown with Oklahoma. Cole, just your first impressions of this matchup. What kind of challenges does Oklahoma bring to this Auburn team?
I think it's actually, Matt, a very intriguing matchup. And you look at sort of the strengths and weaknesses of both of these football teams, and they really do play into each other well. For Oklahoma, this is a team that wants to spread you out. This is not a team that's going to maul you. And I know people probably hear Joe Mixon, they hear P. Ryan, and they see the fact that they put up a lot of rushing yards, and even with the mobile quarterback, do that some with Baker Mayfield. But it's not who they are inherently. They're going to spread you out, try to create space, and then take advantage of those seams. That's how they create big plays. And then obviously, if you try to stack the box and play the run with those two talented backs, Baker Mayfield, D.D. Westbrook are going to try to hurt you down the field and have capabilities to do that. They can find explosive plays that way also. But Auburn's defensive line has had a great season. The front seven's played well. And those guys up front, I think, going against an offensive line that's not great, but has some talent, they have the capabilities to make some plays. Now, can they slow down some of those runs early, put Baker Mayfield in bad situations, and be able to sort of tee off and take advantage of elite rushers from the interior, like a Montravius Adams, or on the exterior, like a Carl Lawson? I think if they get those chances, they can do that and cause problems, but Baker Mayfield can create on his own. And he's a really good quarterback at keeping his eyes down the field, moving around the pocket, maybe outside the pocket, still having accuracy to find a way to make plays with his legs and with his arm. Defensively, it's one of the lighter groups that Auburn will face. And this offensive line's had a good season. They've played some really good football. When Cam Petway's healthy and that downhill running game is going, they can turn into a power north and south football team. I think that's where Auburn has a huge advantage in this game. Now, it's going to take Sean White being healthy. It's going to take some other guys around them making some plays still, but the offensive line that Auburn's going to bring to the table, with Cam Petway being able to run right at Oklahoma, and Oklahoma trying to spread this defense out and potentially create and make plays against a really good defensive front, some good matchups to watch. I mean, I think there's some things that Oklahoma will be able to do. How does Kevin Steele and the back end of that Auburn defense counter that? If they have the numbers on the back end and Auburn can slow them down with 6 in the box, that makes that fun to watch and intriguing. And then I think, how much does Oklahoma have to commit to the line of scrimmage to slow down Auburn's running attack? If it's 6, 7, 8 guys, all of a sudden Sean White could have a pretty good game. So I think this is a very intriguing matchup from a talent perspective. I think Oklahoma has a few more top-end guys, but I think top to bottom across the board, it's much closer than people think.
Well, let's dig into the film. Let's start with Auburn's defense. You mentioned one of the best in the SEC this year at stopping the run. They did have a couple of games where they maybe were beaten up a little bit up front, got beat for a few big long runs, and Texas A&M was one of the teams that had the most success running the ball against Auburn. Let's take a look at a play from this game.
And the scary thing, Matt, you pull these clips and I'm watching them and I'm thinking, this is exactly what Auburn's going to see. And you're going to see 4 and 5 wide receivers. You're going to see spread formations. You're going to see them pull guys out to the numbers, out past the hash, and then try to run right at them. So Kevin Steele's going to try to go with 6 in the box here to defend the run. Now, the intriguing part about that is, with a bonus big in the backfield and Trevor Knight being a mobile quarterback also, this is almost advantage. Actually, it is. This is advantage Texas A&M by alignment, because you have to have an extra defender to account for the quarterback. But this here, and that's 6 on 6. You give me a hat on a hat, and all of a sudden this running back on the safety. Now, we're going to see it actually happen that way, but this is the numbers game that you talk about winning or losing when it comes down to football. Auburn obviously here was more concerned on the back end and more concerned with some of these perimeter weapons that Texas A&M was going to bring. But right here, perfect example, hat on a hat, 2 hats on a hat, and they're going to come off on the linebacker, and you got a hat getting to a hat there. You use your tight end to just motion across, and that's going to occupy the backside defensive end, which he's got to come flat to make that play anyway. Probably not going to happen. But next thing you know, it's running back on the safety, one-on-one. He makes one miss, and he's to the house. So these are situations that Auburn will see, and that they're going to be in. So it comes down to Marlon Davidson. It comes down to Montravius Adams on, can you win your one-on-ones? Because if we're going to try to play 6 in the box against your 7 in the box, or even 6 blockers with a quarterback, 7 in the box, and a running back, you're giving your opponent the advantage. So, I mean, a perfect shot of it here, hat on a hat. These 2 hats are going to be working up to the linebacker. These 2 are going to be working backside here, and it's a nice job using that tight end motion, coming across to occupy the backside defensive end for just long enough. It doesn't take much, and this is the beginning of the year when A&M's offensive line was playing really good football. They got a little bit beat up, and I think they had some youth there, and they sort of wore down towards the end of the season. But this group was one of the best in the SEC in this game. And you see right there, this is not guys knocking defensive linemen 6 and 7 yards off the football. You know, this is not the blind side where you had Laramie Tunsil running a guy off into the fence on the track of the stadium. They don't need that. And Oklahoma's the same way. That's how they operate. You get a hat on a hat, create some space by widening out the defenders or keeping them back because you're concerned about being hurt over the top. And next thing you know, you get a running back to a safety one-on-one, and it's home run city. Another
team that had success running the ball against Auburn this season was LSU. Now, they did it a little bit differently probably than Texas A&M and Oklahoma, but what can we learn from watching this clip here?
Well, you see actually a similar formation. Now, you got your tight end lined up here as an H-back, receivers out wide trying to pull defenders out. It's not as spread as Texas A&M was, but a similar mindset here by starting out Kevin Steele wanting to play 6 in the box. The difference here, you'll get an extra defender rolled down. So now Kevin Steele's trying to say, we're going to put extra bodies, we're going to dedicate extra bodies to the line of scrimmage to try to win the numbers game. And where it hurts you is when this defender rolls up and wants to play blitz, you get a safety that's going to have to roll down, and then you're going to have the safety roll over. We'll get a better shot of that in a minute. So this is how the numbers game affects everything, and alignment affects everything. You dedicate one here, you lose one back here, and one here you lose because he has to go up and your replacement comes over the top. We'll take a look at it here. But wants to start out playing it with 6, bring 7 in. Great call by LSU because they obviously have it go the other direction. And once again, hat on a hat, not a bunch of devastating blocks up front. We'll get a good look at it here from an LSU perspective. There you see Trey Matthews rolling across because he had to come fill in for the safety that rolled down to replace that edge defender. So kind of just a little bit of a counter play here for LSU. Really just a zone play. And nobody's going to pull, nobody's going to be up. And Darius Geis gets to the second level, and he has the ability to make one miss. Joe Mixon and Marcus P. Ryan are the same types of backs that if they get to the second and third level one-on-one, they're going to turn those into explosive plays. So the chess match becomes with the Auburn defense and with the Oklahoma offense, who's going to commit more bodies where? And what do you want to try to take away? Because if we see these extra defenders on the edge or a safety roll down in the box, that's when you're going to see Baker Mayfield turn and throw to the perimeter or pump fake and then try to get balls out. I don't think a lot of elongated pass plays are going to be successful for Oklahoma. You won't see a lot of 5-7 drops in the pocket because Carl Lawson, Montravius Adams, and that group up front can rush the passer, and Oklahoma's offensive line, they're not great in pass protection. It's not what they do. He doesn't just sit in the pocket and deliver. He's quick and getting the football out. So it's going to be a very intriguing chess match to watch.
All right, let's flip it around to the other side and take a look at Auburn's offense. This season's been kind of strange for this Auburn offense because they really seem to find a flow and get things going around the middle of the season. Obviously started to sustain some injuries as the year went on, and they looked very different towards the end of the season. Let's go back and take a look at this team back when Shaun White and Cameron Petway were both healthy and kind of hitting on all cylinders.
It does kind of make you believe or force you to believe that this is a rhythm-based offense, and there's a lot of feel involved with how successful this offense can or will be. So we'll look at a couple different plays. Now, you mentioned it, Matt. This is a healthy Cam Petway. This is a healthy Shaun White. So things are a little bit different. Offensive line playing good football there. Nice kick out by Braden Smith. Chandler Cox gives you a nice block as he has that across motion, kind of blocking in counter formation. Petway picks up a couple of yards here. So now 2nd and 6, a good spot to be in. If you're this Auburn offense, this is where you want to be because this gives you balance. This could be a pass down. This could easily be a run down still on 2nd and 6. So you get to the line of scrimmage, and obviously these defenders have to think a little bit more, have to be prepared for different things. And what I think Sean White gives you here is a little bit of play action, quick delivery of the football, obviously accurate. It's not a difficult pass to ask for. But if we go back and take another look at it again, you'll see defenders having to play Sean White. It's a confusion to Youngblood up front there. He's going to play down because Cam Petway was really dominating this defense at the time. So they're focused on the run, but Sean White can hurt you in different ways. And finally, I think really when Sean White is healthy, and it's not because he's faster, because he's quicker, or has elite feet, or is a better athlete. I think it's just an understanding of how this offense works. And to be able to pull this ball out on the zone read with two defenders playing the run. And again, it takes Cam Petway being dominant at that time. This is where Sean White can really be deadly. And you look back at what does the Cam Petway being dominant do? How does that affect the defense? It's not difficult to see when you have two defenders, one blitzer and one edge defender, crash down and want to take away Cam Petway right there. And what does that do? Opens up a lot of green for Sean White. I mean, he almost slips and falls down. Now, Marquise Haynes, that's a nice job by redirecting, come back and making that tackle. But that's 8-9 yards that you're picking up basically for free. It's almost stealing if you're the Auburn offense. And again, it's not because Sean White is so quick, so fast, an elite runner. He just understands the offense, and he gets it. And that offense moves in a different manner when he's healthy and he's the quarterback. So, if Sean White is healthy, if Sean White is the quarterback, this is the perfect defense to sort of take advantage of with these kind of plays because they're a little bit lighter, they're a little bit faster off the edge, they attack off the edge, and that's where some of these quick plays and good decisions, most importantly what Sean White did there, make a great decision, can turn into explosive plays.
Cole, to close this out, I want to ask you about a topic that a lot of folks have spent a lot of time discussing the last few weeks, and that's the importance of bowl games for teams who are not in the playoffs. Auburn is in a bowl game that traditionally is a very big deal, the Sugar Bowl. They're playing against a high-profile opponent. What to you is the motivating factor for Auburn going into this game? Do you see them getting caught up in this discussion of bowl games not mattering so much?
Here's who says bowl games don't matter. People like you that write for newspapers and
right.
Media nerds. The only people that I've seen come out and say these are meaningless games, and this is all derived from Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
If you want to throw Shock Linwood from Baylor in there, I think his situation's a little bit different. We could go miles and miles and miles talking about those two individuals and why it is a good or the right decision for them. The lazy response to that is these bowl games are meaningless. The hilarious part is a lot of people that you employ and pay are saying they're meaningless games, and they're going to cover the said games that you're attempting to call meaningless. They're not meaningless to me now. They weren't then. I can tell you about 1996 in Shreveport, Louisiana, seeing Vanilla Ice perform twice and going and hanging out with my teammates. I can tell you about cab rides in Orlando at the Citrus Bowl and being at Disney World on Christmas Day with my senior team that we went down to play Michigan in. I can tell you about going to clubs in Atlanta with my teammates when we were there for the Peach Bowl. I remember that like it was yesterday. Why do we completely discount life experience as having value? Everything is turned into monetary value. Not every college football player is looking for the next buck or the next dollar, and that's the only thing that matters to them. It's just not reality. The majority of these kids will never play another football game after their final game their senior year. There's going to be seniors playing every single bowl game. They're not all lining up to go play in the NFL. So this means a lot to them. It means a lot to fans. It means a lot to the employees at the stadiums, to the cities that are bringing bowl games there. To say that any bowl game is meaningless is asinine, immature, and lazy. It's just not right. Is it meaningless to Leonard Fournette to go play in his bowl game for LSU? Maybe. Christian McCaffrey? Possibly. Just because something is meaningless to me does not deem it meaningless. Country music is meaningless to me. I don't listen to any of it. It doesn't make it meaningless. They still have a damn award show that gets big ratings every year and people buy music. It's not meaningless because it doesn't mean something to one person who is a very specialized situation for himself and his family. So I'm not mad at those two players. I know that's a little off base of where we're going with this, but this means a lot. This is the Sugar Bowl. This is a big deal. Auburn fans should be excited to hear. Whether people want to say you backed in or maybe don't deserve to be or some other team deserves to be there, who cares? Auburn's there. Oklahoma's there. It should mean a lot to those two teams because this is a historic bowl game that has had a lot of meaning over time, and it's a way to, yes, have some momentum going into next season. I don't really buy into that because there's a lot that a football player is going to go through, and a lot of things are going to be different when he shows up for spring ball and then two-a-days the next year, and you ain't thinking about the damn Sugar Bowl when you come back to practice for 2017. Bottom line is these kids get gifts, they get money, they get the opportunity to compete again, and they get to go out and say they played in a Sugar Bowl. And 10, 20, 30 years from now, it's going to have a lot of meaning.
All right. Well, we will certainly be there covering the Sugar Bowl for AL.com. You can follow along with all of our Auburn updates. Cole, thanks for joining me in the film room here.
I won't be there covering spring because you're not paying me to go, so I'm going to watch it on television.